Time to talk Miami football. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Canes, and we can't do it any better than when we've got Cam Underwood on the line from State of the U. So it is State of the U. It's the SB Nation platform for the U, and check Cam and the rest of the staff out right there. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I feel good. I feel strong. Just having a great week, short week of, regular work and everything. But, these things that are going on in the off season never sleep. So, I'm good. I'm good.
The 4-day work week. So you're thinking more like, it feels more like maybe Tuesday than Wednesday in a good way. And a little vino on the side. I saw it slip into the picture.
I'm an adult. I'm grown. So, I do partake and imbibe from different sources every once in a while. So, yeah, I'm not going to say what it is exactly, but if you were here last week, you know exactly what this is. So, yeah.
So the transfer portal giveth and the transfer portal taketh away. And the benefit to that we discussed last week could pay off huge. In regards to the player that you lost today, I'm not thinking that it's a boom or bust proposition. It's just a personnel exchange there. So anyway, break down the latest defection.
All right. So, the portal works both ways, coming and going. So there are people coming to Miami. I'll get to them in a minute. And then guys leaving from Miami. So earlier this offseason, Lawrence Cager was reported to be transferring away from Miami. That's been supported by other reports about him taking visits elsewhere. He's a wide receiver, redshirt junior, originally from Baltimore, Maryland, was a U.S. Army All-American back from high school. So he's leaving. And now today, Marquez Izzard, a four-star recruit from Stockbridge, Georgia, is also leaving. That was reported this morning and then announced by the University of Miami a little bit later this morning, getting towards noontime. Izzard is, if you remember the things that I wrote and spoke about last year, he's a big-bodied slot receiver, like 6'1.5", 214, 15 pounds. Basically like your Anquan Bolden build kind of guy. And I do not usually like to compare Canes to players from other schools and things like that, but the comparison's just right on point. Like just that big physical guy who's not going to create too much separation from his defenders, but just bigger and stronger than you and going to make tough catches over the middle. Jeff Thomas was going to leave, and then he came back, and then you have Mike Harley in front of him, and then Izzard is probably like third at the slot. Just looking for opportunities to go elsewhere. And this is a thing that people were speaking about during the season as being potentially possible for Izzard to leave Miami for a variety of reasons, and it seems that those rumors have now come to pass, those things that people were talking about back in October, November, and things like that. So, we wish everybody well, respect all decisions, whether it's recruiting or players on the roster, whichever decisions people make, because they make the best decisions that they can for themselves. So we definitely, wish both Lawrence Cager and Marquez Izzard the best. There's another couple guys. Tyler Gauthier is leaving. He graduated, Hayden Mahoney is leaving by transfer. So there have been a few guys, it's been like 3 or 4 who are leaving from Miami through the transfer portal. So I know that we've been talking a lot about the players that Miami's gaining, but there have been some fringe level players who are leaving as well. Speaking of the guys that Miami is gaining to the roster, the latest one was last night. He's a defensive tackle from UCLA. His name is Chigozie Naruka. He's another Nigerian descendant to be at Miami. You have, the Njoku brothers. You had Tito Odenigbo. You had Ufamba Kamalu. There's a lot of Nigerian bloodlines coming through Miami recently. So when you have, those 2 Nigerian natives who host, that being Odenigbo and Njoku, who host Naruka when he comes down. I mean, you want to be around like-minded people, you know what I mean? So when you share a common background, being like a first or second generation Nigerian American, those things are very, strong. So he's coming over. UCLA changed from like a 4-3 defense to a 3-4, and he's kind of that athletic tackle, not that big nose. He's like 6'2", 287. So he's not a massive Vince Wilfork type dude. So when they went to the 3-4, you really need a nose tackle, a gigantic space eater in the middle of that defense. And Naruka's not that. So he saw his playing time dramatically decrease. he had like 40 tackles, 46 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks 2 years ago. Last year, he had like a handful of stats total. So he's looking for his graduate year to come to Miami and have an impact like Tito Odenigbo did last year at Miami with his 1 year of eligibility. So, yeah, Naruka is coming in. You also have Tate Martell, obviously, we spoke about. Asa Martin from Auburn, we spoke about. KJ Osborne from Buffalo, we spoke about. I'm forgetting some, but Bubba Bolden from USC, who was a high school teammate of Brevin Jordan and Tate Martell. And Tommy Kennedy from Butler. Those are the other 5 guys. Add in with Naruka, that's 6 guys coming in. So, yeah, the portal has been working a lot on both sides. And I know that people are looking at Miami for taking all these, guys to fill in gaps of the roster, because obviously this recruiting class is not going to do that. But by getting guys who are game ready, hopefully they'll be able to, again, fill in some of those holes of the roster and help the team's performance go forward. So, yeah, Marquez Ezzard was the latest guy to leave, and Chigozie Naruka is the latest guy to come to Miami through the portal. And Miami's going to continue to work the portal even more going forward.
Yeah, I have been hit with this whole transfer portal recently where the quarterbacks have been the main focus, and now players are flying all over the place. And it seems like a ridiculous question. I've got to admit, when I read it, I thought it was, but Liberty City Boy is asking, because I see it as the NFL draft is how you build a team. You supplement through free agency in the NFL, much like you would here, looking at it as a free agency type system. But he's asking if you could build a championship team based on the transfer portal.
I mean, it is hypothetically possible because you can get top level talent through the transfer portal. But the thing about any team, about any organization, is there has to be that synergy. You know what I mean? That growth over time, the development over time, being in the system, knowing all the nomenclature. It's, people talk about themselves, so I'm going to talk about myself. When I was in middle school, my basketball team at the Detroit Waldorf School lost 4 games in 3 years. Like, we went everywhere. We got kicked out of several tournaments because we won them every single year. But
what position were you playing?
I played all over the floor. I played one. Okay. I played point through power forward just because I had this mentality. But I played everywhere. But having played with these guys, having been on that starting unit for so long, we didn't call plays when we got to 7th grade because we've been playing since 5th grade together. So we had that synergy. If our coach called a press, you already knew who was going. You knew all the rotations. You didn't really even have to talk that much because there had been that growth, that connection, that community that we had. On a team, especially to be a championship caliber team, you have to have that. Look at Alabama. Guys might leave from there, but that team has been there for a long time. If you have a guy like Deshaun Hand, who was a first-team all-rookie for my Detroit Lions, he was the #1 recruit years ago, and he didn't play significant snaps until his 4th year at Alabama. Everybody was there. So you can, I think, potentially in the future get championship-level talent, 4-star and 5-star elite players through the transfer portal. I don't know if you can recreate that ineffable connection between the team in a short period of time that you would inevitably have to do by having a free agent situation and really putting everything together in one offseason or one summer to build a championship caliber connection, because you're going to need that as well. So I think maybe it's possible, but probably not practical.
Winning championship levels in sports isn't all about just talent. It's about fitting the right pieces, getting into a system, chemistry, synergy, all those things. And also, if you really truly believe in your program, your culture, it's raising people up into that culture and having them understand what's expected of them, how you conduct yourself as a blank, whatever the team, whatever the tradition. And therefore, you lose that to a certain extent by transferring people in from all over the country. The plus side is that they have a track record. You can say, okay, you played a year in college, you played 2 years, you played 3 years. We know what you can do versus recruiting, as much of it as it is a science in bulk, in mass. It's obviously a bit of a crapshoot individually where these guys have track records.